After everything we survived, would you take someone back? If the person you once swore you'd never forgive suddenly stood in front of you, crying, trembling, saying they finally understood your worth, what would you do? Would you walk away forever? Or try again? Those were the exact words Sonia whispered the night Andrea came back into her life for the second time. Words so heavy that even now, people still argue about whether she should have opened at that door at all. But before I tell you what happened on that night in Miami, let me ask you believe real love deserves a second chance? Because this story, this comeback story, isn't sweet, isn't soft, and definitely isn't simple. It begins with two people who had every reason to hate each other, every reason to walk away, and yet they stood face to face again, their hearts refusing to die quietly. And maybe that's why this story matters. Andrea was the kind of man people remembered, not because he was loud, but because he had this calm, grounded presence that made you feel safe. The kind of man whose silence spoke louder than other people's shouting. He lived in Houston, in a high-rise where the sunsets looked like melted gold dripping across glass towers. Sonia was the opposite, vibrant, fiery, unpredictable. A Miami girl with big hair, big dreams, and emotions too powerful for her own good. She loved like a storm, beautiful, chaotic, unforgettable. But storms destroy things, and their love collapsed under its own intensity. For 2 years they didn't speak. 2 years of blocked numbers, cold shoulders, mutual friends whispering, just let it go. 2 years of pretending they'd moved on until the night everything changed. It started with one message from an unknown number. Andrea, please, I need to talk to you. Should have ignored it. He knew that. He told himself he would. But something about it, a heaviness, a desperation pulled at him. He called back. And in that moment, the past rose from the dead. The story you're about to read isn't neat. It isn't polite. It's raw, flawed, human. A story about heartbreak, pride, wounds that never fully closed. And to people who had to confront the truth, sometimes the person who hurts you the most is the only one who ever understood you. But before Andrea went to Miami, before the confrontation that changed everything, before their comeback, there was another moment. A private moment. A secret that neither of them had ever told the world. In that moment is where our story truly begins. Asterisk. Andrea stood outside his apartment window in Houston, staring at the message Sonia had sent. The city lights stretched out beneath him, a mix of blues and whites shimmering like restless thoughts. He hadn't said her name out loud in years, but seeing it again felt like reopening a wound he thought had healed. He typed a response twice, deleted it twice. Finally, he dialed her number. She picked up immediately, Andrea. Her voice was soft but trembling, like she had rehearsed the moment 100 times. Sonia. Why now? There was a long pause. I don't know how much time I have to explain. I just need to see you. It wasn't the words, it was the fear in them. Something was wrong. Andrea wasn't impulsive. He was rational, steady, but that night he booked a flight to Miami without telling anyone, not even his sister, who still blamed Sonia for everything that happened. The next morning, he landed in Miami. Palm trees bent in the breeze like they were bowing to secrets the wind carried. The humidity clung to his skin. Memories clung harder. He found Sonia waiting outside the small cafe where they once spent. Sunday mornings arguing about movies and life. She looked smaller, somehow like life had chewed at the edges of her confidence. Her eyes met his. And for a moment, everything froze. Andrea. Her voice cracked. He felt something shift inside him. What happened? He asked. She took a deep breath. I made mistakes. Bad ones. And I convinced myself you didn't care anymore. But I was wrong. A flash of something regret, pain, longing moved across her face. I don't need you to take me back, she said. I just need to tell you the truth. Everything. Andrea braced himself. The last time she said those words. Their entire relationship imploded. But before she could speak, a man exited the cafe behind her, a tall guy, confident. wearing a smile that felt too familiar. Andrea, right? He extended a hand. I've heard a lot about you. Sonia stiffened. Andrea didn't take the hand. Who are you? Andrea asked. The man smirked. I'm Daniel. A friend. Andrea looked at Sonia. Her eyes dropped to the ground. A cold, heavy feeling settled in Andrea's stomach. This trip, this truth, wasn't going to be simple in that moment. He realized something. Sonia hadn't called him just to confess. She'd called because she was running from something or someone. And Andrea, against all logic, was stepping right back into the fire. This was the beginning of a storm he didn't see coming. Andrea sat across from Sonia in the cafe, watching her fidget with the edge of her sleeve. Daniel had left after pretending not to notice the tension, but the air still felt thick with unresolved history. So, Andrea said, you wanted to talk? I'm here. Say it. Sonia swallowed hard. It's about why we ended. The real reason. Andrea frowned. We ended because you walked away. You packed your things and left without explaining anything. That's what it looked like, she whispered. But there was more. For months after their breakup, Andrea had replayed the scenes in his head, her sudden silence, her refusal to explain, the way she shut down completely. He thought she didn't love him anymore. He thought she'd chosen herself over them. What more could there be? He asked. She looked up, eyes glistening. I was scared. Not of you. Of losing myself. Of turning into someone I didn't recognize. And I thought you deserved better. Andrea leaned back, hurt tightening his chest. You should have talked to me. I know, she whispered. But I was spiraling. And Daniel, she hesitated. Daniel wasn't what you think. He wasn't a boyfriend. He was someone who took advantage of the fact that I was weak. Andrea's jaw clenched. What does that mean? Sonia looked away, ashamed. He made me believe you were holding me back, that my dreams didn't matter to you. He fed the insecurities I already had. I didn't realize how deeply he manipulated me until it was too late. Andrea wasn't sure what to feel. Anger, sympathy, confusion. He rubbed his forehead. So you left me because he convinced you I didn't love you? No, she said. I left because I didn't love myself enough to trust what we had. It was the first time she had ever admitted it, Andrea. I hurt you. I know that. And I'm not here to erase the past. I'm here because something happened 2 weeks ago. He stiffened. What happened? She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. Her fingers trembled as she handed it to him. He opened it slowly. Inside was a medical report. He read the first sentence, and his heart dropped. Sonia, what is this? She closed her eyes. It's why I reached out. Why I couldn't stay silent anymore. I don't know how to face this alone. Andrea couldn't speak. The cafe's noise faded into a distant hum. This wasn't about the past. This wasn't about romance. This wasn't about Daniel. This was something else entirely, something that would test everything they once were. Sonia looked at him with fear, vulnerability, and a silent plea. Andrea, I need you. And against every boundary he'd built to protect himself. He felt himself breaking. Asterisk, the medical report burned in Andrea's mind. Even long after he folded it back into the envelope, Sonia sat still, waiting for his reaction. This can't be real, Andrea murmured. It is, she whispered. I didn't want to believe it either, but the doctor confirmed everything. A tightness gripped Andrea's chest. You should have told me sooner. I didn't know how, and I wasn't sure you'd even want to hear from me. He looked at her. Not the Sonia he once knew, but a quieter version, stripped of defenses. What did the doctor say? He asked that I need treatment. Soon, and that stress makes everything worse. She paused. I've been having panic attacks. Night after night. I didn't know who to turn to. Andrea exhaled. You have friends, family. They don't know me like you do, she said. Andrea, I reached out because you're the only one who ever saw me clearly, even when I didn't see. Myself, he didn't respond. not because he didn't care, but because every answer felt like a betrayal of the pain he carried. Sonia gently touched his hand. He pulled away, startled by the old electricity that shot through him. Andrea, I'm not asking you to fix this or to come back. I just don't want to go through this alone. Andrea stared at her fingers trembling. He remembered the nights they spent on the Houston balcony laughing at nothing. The road trips to Miami where Sonia sang off-key on purpose, the dreams they once planned, and also the night she ended it, the silence, the door closing, the entire world collapsing. Behind her, he clenched his fists. Sonia, what do you really want from me? She swallowed. I want honesty. A fresh start. A chance to rebuild trust. And if that's too much, I want closure. Closure. Andrea's voice cracked unexpectedly. Sonia nodded slowly. Yes, because if I don't face you now, I'll never be free from the guilt. Andrea took a long breath. You should have fought for us. I know, she whispered. And it's my biggest regret. Cafe suddenly felt too small, too crowded with emotions spilling over. Andrea stood up. We need air. They walked outside. The Miami sun was bright, but not warm enough to soften the tension between them. As they stood near the sidewalk, Sonia suddenly grabbed his wrist. Andrea, please don't walk away. Not like this. He turned. Her eyes were red and raw and real. Give me a chance to show you the truth, she pleaded. Andrea stared at her. Then, with a slow exhale, he nodded. Double quotes, fine, talk, but I'm listening with an open mind. Not an open heart. It was a start. A fragile one, but a start nonetheless. They sat on a quiet bench at the edge of the boardwalk, waves crashing against the pillars below. Sonia took a deep breath. There's something else I need to tell you, she said softly. Something I've hidden for years. Andrea braced himself. Go on. She turned toward the water, eyes distant. When we broke up, I wasn't just confused. I wasn't just listening to Daniel's manipulations. I was scared because of something that happened long before you. Andrea frowned. What do you mean? She hesitated. I never told you about my father. Andrea's heart slowed. No, you didn't. You always avoided the topic. He wasn't just absent, she whispered. He was controlling, jealous, unpredictable. Growing up in that house, I watched my mom become a shadow. She loved him so fiercely that she forgot herself. She forgave things no woman should forgive. And I swore I'd never become her. Andrea softened, just slightly. Sonia. When we were together, she continued, I started feeling that same fear. Not because of anything you did, but because of how strongly I loved you. I was terrified I'd lose myself. Terrified I'd become like my mom, defined only by someone else. Andrea looked down. He wasn't expecting this. Sonia. Why didn't you tell me? Because the more you loved me, the more afraid I became. I thought walking away would protect us both. She inhaled shakily, but it didn't. It destroyed me. Silence stretched between them. Then she continued, and Daniel. He knew exactly how to prey on that weakness. He twisted everything. Made me believe you were becoming controlling when you weren't. He made me feel safe at first. Then he became worse than anything my father ever was. Andrea froze. What are you saying? She finally met his eyes. I left you because Daniel threatened me. Andrea's breath caught. He said if I didn't end things with you, he'd ruin your life. Your career. Your reputation. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want you dragged into my mess. Andrea felt the world tilt slightly. He threatened me. Yes, tears spilled down her cheeks, and I was stupid. I thought I could fix it on my own. I pushed you away to protect you, and instead, I fell apart. Andrea stared at her, incredulous, hurt, furious, not at her, but at the truth being years late. Sonia. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Because I thought you'd judge me, or blame me. Andrea shook his head. Sonia, I would have fought for you, at you. You didn't have to carry that alone. She broke down, shoulders shaking. I know, and it's my biggest regret. Andrea closed his eyes. For the first time since their breakup, He saw not the woman who left him, but the woman who had been breaking silently long before he arrived. And suddenly, for the first time in years, his anger loosened, just a little. The waves crashed harder now, like they were echoing the storm, quietly unraveling between them. Sonia wiped her tears with the back of her hand, trembling. Andrea, I didn't ask you to come here so you'd take me back. I asked you to come because I couldn't keep living with the weight of what I never told you. Andrea inhaled deeply. The Miami breeze carried salt, regret, truth, and the medical report. He asked. Sonia nodded slowly. I need treatment. It's not life-ending, but it will change things for a while. And I'm scared. Andrea looked at her, really looked at her. This wasn't the Sonia who broke him. This was the Sonia who had been broken long before he entered the picture. A part of him small. Stubborn, hopeful, whispered, maybe the story isn't over. Sonia, he said carefully, if I stay, if we try again, it won't be because I feel sorry for you. And it won't be because of guilt. It'll be because there's still something real here. Something worth rebuilding. She held her breath. And right now, I don't know what that something is. But I'm willing to see. Sonia's eyes widened with a fragile kind of hope. Are you saying there's a chance? Andrea nodded. A small one. A cautious one. But yes, a shaky laugh escaped her. I'll take it, he continued. But you need to promise me 2 things. She wiped her eyes again. Anything first. No more secrets ever. She nodded firmly. Agreed. And second, if we try again, we do it slowly. Honestly. Like 2 people starting from scratch. Sonia exhaled, relieved. I want that. More than anything. Andrea stood, hands in his pockets, staring at the ocean. Real love isn't about avoiding pain, he said quietly. It's about choosing each other even when it hurts. But I need you strong, Sonia, not afraid, not hiding. She stepped beside him, her shoulder brushing his gently. I'm ready to fight this time, she whispered. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind filled the silence. Then Sonia added, after everything, we're really trying again? Andrea turned to her, the sun casting a soft glow across her face. Yeah, he said. We're trying again. But this time, we do it right. She smiled small, genuine, vulnerable. A smile he hadn't seen in years. And just like that, the walls between them cracked. Not completely, but enough for light to get through. Andrea reached for her hand. She led him, and together they began walking down the boardwalk to people with a broken past, an uncertain future, and a fragile, stubborn hope tying them together. Not a perfect ending, not a dramatic reunion, just the quiet beginning of a comeback story born from pain. Truth and the courage to love again. Because sometimes the real love story starts after the heartbreak.